there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Anne and this is Reading Branches. On this channel I mainly do book content. I'm hoping to branch out a bit soon and do more lifestyle content such as vlogs, but I'm a scaredy cat, ironically given the time of year, but I'm a scaredy cat of doing things like that. I'm trying, but bear with me. So as it's spooky season, I thought today I'd do a fun video. As per the title says, I'm going to be recommending books to the characters of Hocus Pocus. This is a goofy concept for a video, I'm well aware of that. I was originally going to do it in a blog post, which I have a blog where I do a lot of other book content, so I'll link that down below if you didn't know. But I just thought it would translate better through video, and I'm really struggling right now with my content ideas. Everything I want to do, I'm not sure whether it has a place in the book community or on my channel specifically, as it's very specific to a certain audience, but I'm trying to get better at that. You know, the best thing to do online is create content that you'd watch yourself. So I'm doing this for fun, so I'm gonna have fun with it. So this video. Now, I adore Hocus Pocus. I'm more of a horror movie person in October, but I do have a soft spot for witchy movies or witchy vibes. I love practical magic, books and movie, and Hocus Pocus is just a must-watch for me every year. I'm assuming you've seen this movie because everyone has seen this movie, love or hate it. So without further ado, I'm just going to go into recommending books to the characters as though they were real. This is a very weird video to do. First up, we have Winnie Sanderson, the main of the sisters. Now, this is the one book suggestion I can't give you a full synopsis on, as I feel like you have to go into it blind, and that is My Sister, the Serial Killer. This made the rounds on BookTube, I want to say 3-4 years ago. It was very popular, and with good reason. This is a fun book. It has a very dark theme. As per the title says, this is about a young woman who's a doctor, and her sister is a serial killer. She often calls up her sister to be, can you help me hide this body? Can you help me clear up all this blood? I need your help. Thank God I'm an only child. But I think this would be the perfect book for Winifred because the main themes are sisterhood, death, murder, she seems to enjoy that. And it's got a very dark humour that I think she'd enjoy. It's a thriller, which is perfect for this time of year, though I would say it's more of a dark comedy than thriller. It could go into both, but I'd say more dark comedy. If you go into this expecting a very serious, hard-hitting thriller, you're not going to get it. It's goofy in the best way possible, but with a lot of blood and guts. Sounds like Winnie. Next up, I'm going to recommend a book to Sarah Sanderson, who's my favourite of the three sisters. As you can see, I'm kind of dressed like her today. Kind of. I'm just wearing purple and a dress, but I'm going to pretend I'm in a slight cosplay costume because I bought it for that reason, so yeah. Sarah's the most, let's say, friendly of the sisters, so for that reason, I'm going to recommend The X-Hex, which, if you're a part of any book community online, whether that be Bookstagram, BookTwitter, BookTube, you've seen people talk about this book. I think this got released last month. I was kindly sent an e-arc of it through NetGalley, and be still my heart, this is adorable. If you didn't know, somehow, this is about a young 20-something girl, Vianne, who's a witch, and her boyfriend Reese breaks up with her. Because of this, her and her cousin drunkenly decide to curse him using a Bed Bath and Body Works? That's not what it's called. Bath and Body Works? Candle. A store-bought candle. They think nothing of it, like just joking around. But when Reese returns to the town a few years later, the curse goes into effect. This is just a really fun book. Not only do I love that it's like Reese is Welsh, Vivian's American, and I'm Welsh, my husband's American, so that was a fun dynamic to read because I've never seen that before. But also it's just all of the atmospheric vibes. It is so Halloween-y, it's unreal. I think Sarah would really like it because it's romance. She's very, let's say, romantic with people, and the smut, she would love it. And the Halloween stuff and the witchiness. Ironically, this is the only book involving witches on this list, which I'm only just realizing, but I think she'd really enjoy it, and yeah, that's my recommendation. Next up, we have the last of the sisters, Mary. Now, Mary's definitely one of the lighter sisters. She's more up for a good time, a bit goofy, and for that, because of that, I'm gonna recommend Nimona. This is a graphic novel that made the rounds so many years ago. It was originally a webcomic, and it is so fun. It's incredibly fun. It's about a young girl who's a shapeshifter named Nimona, who has to team up with the villain called, I wrote it down, Lord Ballister Darkheart. That's a name. But they have to team up to bring down the kingdom, as the kingdom pretending to be the good guys where they're actually the bad guys. The art, firstly, is beautiful. All the imagery is so eye-popping but kind of dark. It's just glorious. So I think Mary would really enjoy that part of it. But also I think she'd just enjoy the representation in it, but also there are fight scenes, but it's also funny, incredibly funny. This is probably one of the most light-hearted graphic novels I've ever read, despite it being a fantasy about bringing down a kingdom. It's incredibly done, so well written, and I just think Mary would have a blast with it. Maybe as she's drinking a Tango Ice Blast. Who knows? Next up, we have Dani. Now, I was a bit torn as whether to recommend a book to child Dani at her age in Hocus Pocus, or whether to recommend a book for older Dani. So I've kind of found a middle ground, which is the Wayward Children series by Shannon Maguire, more specifically Across the Green Grass Fields, which is the 5th installment, maybe 6. I'll correct myself on screen if I'm wrong. This is about a young girl who goes through a door to a land of centaurs. Why do I just repeat a word hoping someone will correct me? But she goes through a door. There are centaurs. I regret choosing this as a book recommendation. This is a very messy video, I apologize. But she goes on an adventure. All of these books are about kids who go through these doors to other worlds. Each book goes to a different character. Some of them are connected, more specifically 1, 2, and 5? 6? 5, I think. I will write the order that you can read them down below. But it's a very adventurous with dark worlds. Like maybe child Dani would be a little too young, but also if you survive seeing Billy get beheaded, you're probably down for some gore and you won't be a bit creeped out, you know? So I think this series, and Across the Green Grass Fields more specifically, would just be ideal for her. They're very adventurous, dark, with young, mainly girls as the main characters, and I think she'd see herself in them and maybe want her own door where you don't live in a world where your brother's a dumbass. Speaking of that, next up is Max. Now, Max kind of bugs me. I don't know whether it's the actor, the character, there's just something about him. But putting that aside, I'm putting aside the fact I'm trying not to recommend older books or classics in this video. Otherwise, we all know he'd adore Catcher in the Rye. I mean, argue with me, he would love that book. But more recent releases I think he'd enjoy would be anything by Donna Tartt, but more specifically The Goldfinch. This is about a young boy named Theo who loses his mother in a bomb attack at an art museum. Then we span across so many years of his life where he's struggling to find himself, to find his place in the world, to find family that cares for him. He meets another boy named Boris who becomes like a brother, but he's also a wounded human, and together they don't do well together, but they need each other, if that makes sense. It's very literary fiction, heavily actually. And I just think Max would like the pretentiousness of Donna Tartt's writing, but also having a young boy as the main character who keeps getting moved around, trying to find himself in the world. And yeah, but he would really love Catcher in the Rye, which I'm bitter about, even though he's not a real person who said he loved that book. And lastly, we have Allison. Now, for her, I feel like she was ahead of her times with the feminist movement. She seems very proactive in a lot of cases. So I would recommend Girl, Woman, Other. This is a collection or a multiple point of view novel of different characters whose lives intertwine throughout the novel. It's mainly about mothers, daughters, and others, or grandmothers, granddaughters, and maybe a cousin or something. It's incredibly well written. There's so much representation of womanhood in any form, and the writing is beautiful. The concept is incredible and great. It's won so many awards for women's fiction. I feel like Allison would really follow those trends and read those books. And this is probably the main book I'd recommend from this list, as it was flawless. I'm still blown away. I want to give it a reread. And yeah, I think Allison would really like that. But also the X-Hex is super fun. So there you have it. I'm sorry this video has been kind of chaotic. My mind is chaotic right now. I'm blaming all the pumpkin spice that I'm inhaling through my nose and mouth. But I will hopefully make another video soon, and let me know down below if you agree with any of these recommendations or what you would recommend to any of the characters. I hope you had fun, and happy Halloween!